Hey guys, this is a grumpy old guy gaming. Happy New Year. Hope your 2021 is getting off on the right foot. One thing I want to get out of the way real quick here. The original intent of the footage we were doing yesterday during the Fragment virtual New Year's party was to get some people in on voice chat, to have some fun, run some dungeons, and then just use that footage, both audio and video, as a sort of mashup supercut of all the fun stuff we got into yesterday. Well, we had some fun stuff, some really fun stuff. So much, in fact, that we're not going to get to all of it in this video, but we will do our best to hit on at least every little bit of it, while saving some of the juicier tidbits for down the road. Don't worry, it's in the very near future you'll get to see it. That said, I was a little behind schedule yesterday, and I sort of flubbed on the audio settings, so the actual voice chat, the audio on my end, came out very, very muted. I was hearing it just fine recording, and then playing back, it's barely hearable on anyone at all. So sadly, I'm going to have to dub over those parts. That said, I do hope you enjoy the video because it was a wild, wild night. But yeah, anyway, I just want to give a quick thank you to everybody who ran yesterday and everyone who was in the voice chat. We got to hang out with Emus, with Cameo, with Slishstrel, with Snownami. Um, got to play a few dungeons with Breeze. That was awesome. You'll see them a little further on in this. And just the Fragment community in general. If I'm leaving anyone out, apologies. It was probably one of the higher points of my 2020, getting into this game and meeting so many awesome people who are into this game as well. So I just want to take this time to thank you for everything and hope you enjoy these scenes from a Dot Hack New Year. So here I am entering the first dungeon, level 40 Passionate Forest on V's place. This server ended up being very, very key to the night. Kind of an interesting way to start out. It's a forest field, and you'll see here in this opening clip, if you're looking to raise a grunty and find yourself lacking in piney apples, this is probably the place to come. Ended up getting 5 piney apples in total from the field, including in each of the first 3 rooms. Neat little start there. And here we are at the Spring of Mist in that very same field. I had just mentioned that we had seen everything but the Spring of Mist in the previous screen, so walking right into it was sort of serendipitous here. And it's your usual fare. I had a slightly overpowered weapon, and I didn't really want to risk anything going down. I knew weapons would be increased, but I'm sort of happy with this one in general, but I knew it was a bit too high a level, so I went ahead and chucked it in for the gold and silver axes. Again, trade bait for offline. Never hurts to have them. I just throw them in the storage, and that's where they sit. Here's the 4th floor of the base of the dungeon for that field, and we're wrapping things up here up against some pumpkin kings, which awkwardly made me switch my one shortcut from Rhineck to Earthkins for the rest of the evening, get that darkness skill out of the way for the earth skill. And we're just sort of wrapping up the last little bit of the dungeon here, just collecting these chests before moving on further and into the 5th floor. Now here's a shot I'm adding in here for purely selfish reasons. We get the Druid Witch down in one shot, but the other monster, the Temple Guard, is magic tolerant, and as you can see there, that was rare video footage of me succeeding in one try with a Beast's Bane, which if you saw my last capture, there's a bit of a scaling little success chance with the Beast Bane, and if you go too high above your level, you're just going to be wasting your time just flailing at nothing, hoping it takes. By this time, Emus had joined the party, and he was in voice, and we were just sort of talking a bit while I was finishing up this dungeon. Ended up picking up a witch's wand, ditched the light cross because my inventory was full, and I ended up exchanging, like, yeah, I had one of the levers, so I exchanged that for a rainbow card. So that was one in on this New Year's adventure, and now it was time to meet up with some folks, party up, and get New Year's starting proper. So here we are on the Shining Darkness server in Netslum, the root town, and we're joined by emus who's playing their Twin Blade and the book, Cameo's Wavemaster, back from a brief hiatus. And we were all just sort of chatting, familiarizing each other with ourselves. I don't think Cameo and emus had gotten the chance to play together previously. And then we were off to a field, and we're just going to go ahead and do that one in its entirety here. Illicit Mechanized Grace, on what in this household has become known as the Frowny Face server. Could see we've got the Awakening gems up in the upper left corner, but I think at this time Emu's Twin Blade was still level 2. Level 2 or 3, I think. Maybe 3. But the goal either way was to get them up to at least level 6 by the time we got done playing. And here you can see right away we're going to get ourselves into a battle with a crab turtle. Just going to take that down real quick. A few portals out here, and this is one of these Thunder Element themed mecha fields that was a Fragment exclusive. So if this looks a little different from what you remember if you played IMO queuing, you're just sort of checking out Fragment now. This is one of the things they did specifically for this game. To me, it always had a bit of a pardon me there, I was apparently checking the Discord for a moment. I think it was around this time that Slishstroll may have popped into the voice chat, and we were talking there. He was mentioning a whole bunch of stuff he's got going on with the computers, with the PSP Go. He mentioned doing some things with PSP Vita. Just a really interesting chat in general. Sadly, I was sort of a bump on a log for it because anytime anybody starts talking in a technical sense, my mind just sort of goes to mush. I'm not that guy, but still really interesting to listen to. Really cool conversation in general, just going back and forth on everything. Did let us know that there wasn't going to be a December .hack news, kind of figured. Just one of those things that fell to the back burner. It's been a pretty slow month anyway, at least from the Fragment end of things. We saw the New Year's event a bunch. We were joking we probably wouldn't see it here tonight, ironically of all things, and I don't think we saw the New Year's Eve event that I'm aware of. Nobody else certainly mentioned it, and but, you know, we're sitting there reapplying our buffs and everything, and on to the next portal we go. Sometimes I have to remember when I've got point. I'm so used to just following whatever direction somebody goes with. Get a chest there, but before anybody can grab it, crab turtle comes in, and it sort of blinks in and out. I want to say that was the second or third time a monster had done that. I don't know if it was specific to the field or just something wonky going on yesterday or what, but monsters just sort of blinking in and out. A little weird. Realized nobody was coming for that symbol, so I just sort of popped it and tried my best to catch up. I don't think I get there in time. I think the monster dies like right as soon as I get there. Yep. So good on them, and you can see just ton of experience. Cameo's got some pretty stacked gear on that Wavemaster, and Emu's is picking up like 30 or 40 experience for some of these kills just for getting those hits in. So again, important leveling tip there. Stone turtle goes down with ease. We're just kind of working our way through the field here. Looks like about 4 more portals after this one. Another stone turtle, or stone tuttle, if you prefer. Was that 50 experience? I mean, heck of a reward there. I will pick up a Mandragora right by that structure, if only to get one less bouncing noise in my earpiece. And then further up the map we go. Another crab turtle. Just see the magic's taking care of it, and I'm just sort of standing there as a physical barrier. Most useful I could realistically be for that. And again, using my Sublime Stole to apply not really needed, but helpful buffs. Get the hit point and skill point regeneration going for my party mates throughout. Take out this flame heads here. That just leaves us with 3 in a pretty clean line. This time we're all around the portal, we get Apanied, so our darkness element is boosted. Speed charm's wearing off, so we'll take a minute to reapply those. And here comes another stone turtle. Now you see that little yellow turtle up on the shell, that would become a source of some fascination. For me it's been a source of some fascination for a couple months now, but I would bring it up in chat a little later on in the evening. And I don't know, maybe you could weigh in on the debate, you the watcher. When that little yellow turtle tries to run away and ends up going underfoot of the big giant turtle, do you think it gets away? It's left very ambiguous. It's kind of a 50-50 shot if it gets away or gets crushed underneath. Let me know which camp you're in on that, whether the little yellow turtle lives or doesn't. Either way is kind of funny to me. Here we're up against a couple more crab turtles. And one of our favorite summons, Rhynek, rears its head. Takes them out in quick order, and off to the dungeon we will go. Nice thing about working things in that fashion, we are right next to the entrance there. Every time I look at these, I keep thinking to myself I have to go in and edit my messages. Make them a bit more personal than generic message A, B, C. But here we are, popping up a fairy's orb in the first floor. End up pulling a flame heads at the corner of this room before it extends out to the side. This was pretty early on in the evening, looking at the timestamp here. This was still the first hour, so we're probably just crossing 9 o'clock since, like I said, I didn't get off right at 8 like I'd hoped. I was a little bit behind. Just a touch of lag there since I was doing the recording and everything while doing this, and it's a larger T-shaped room. One thing that didn't take much in the way of extra time was that Flamehead's getting dispatched. Emus and Cameo definitely doing the brunt of the effort on that, and I'm once again standing there taking what hits come. Not overly worried about it at this point. I think this was like a level 13 or so field. I'm level 24. Nothing that doesn't have a death touch ability is going to frighten me. Moving to the second floor here. Even if you aren't using the Awakening, seeing that meter fully charged and all of those gems lit up green is kind of a cool thing in the corner. It's like you're raring to go, fully energized, the team has hit its point of synergy. Certainly looked that way with how quick that stone turtle went down, didn't it? By the way, how do you think they got that big giant turtle in here? I mean, it's not impossible, but this is the second floor, so at some point they had to navigate a staircase. Just saying. Get a little extra treasure there. Pass up an immature egg. I'm sure somebody will grab it on the way. Or we'll skip it entirely, because we got a clear view of that. Find another stone turtle squirreled away in this dead-end corridor. It's one of the wider corridors, and we're fighting on what effectively looks like an area rug. Just a little patch different from the floor tile, and the feet don't make as loud a sound when you're running across it. So yeah, we're gonna go with space area rug there, just to emphasize the theme. Moving down now. Got another one of these wider corridors, and it spawns a guardian. That happens to be our last dungeon portal for this, so a short dungeon, only 2 floors to check out there. In case you were too worried about me droning on and on about this. Don't worry, there's plenty more video to come. Stick around. Emus is going to grab the treasure, and we will be on to our next part of the adventure. Okay, so we go through a treasure room here, and this wasn't part of the original timestamps I'd set out for the supercut, but it's such a fun visual with the way the camera played out on it here. We go up against 1,000 trees, and we're all getting our hits in, and then all of a sudden, Cameo absolutely rocks it with that earth spell, and all you see is the ground rising up, the words elemental hit, and then the tree is down. I thought that looked pretty cool, so I wanted to include that in. But we're actually coming to the point, and again, we're just doing a little chatter back and forth here as we're finishing off these mobs. Just random nonsense like the intricacies of the makeup choices of the water witches and whatnot through the sake of random close-ups we got. And Cameo had mentioned going into first person to check it out for a moment, which triggered one of my favorite memories of Fragment in 2020, the day Spooky taught me how to moonwalk, which very much became a topic of conversation during this adventure. So we're sitting there talking, and I mentioned about moonwalking. You can see Emu's doing it there, and I'm starting to do it a little here, but you can't see because I'm in first person. And again, just a moment of silliness in a night of revelry and adventure. So we eventually make our way to the door here after goofing off a bit. And then we continue on our way. So here we are in Mac Anu in the Azure Dreams server. Cameo stepped out for a little bit, and me and Emu's now switched to his Wave Master. Would join a Wave Master named Breeze, who's actually a rather notable figure as far as the history of Fragment goes, and definitely somebody that owes a bit of gratitude, especially for those of us who have tinkered around with the area server. I was a bit stunned to meet them. I had never previously spoken to them and just sort of hopped in because I saw somebody on the server. And we ended up, partying up and going on a 3-Wave Master adventure here in this snowy field. Getting taken to task by that Lancer a little bit there. Nothing too big of a worry though. Again, at this point we're actually working not so much to level up any character, but to go ahead and get the Azure Dreams server leveled up a bit. I think by the end of the night we ended up getting 2 levels on it, so I believe Breeze said it was up to level 8, which was fantastic. Footage seems to have slowed down a little bit there, at least during the battle. Of course it could be because I'm trying to do the RPG slow walk too. And here we're just sort of doing a bit of banter about, you know, the area server and setting up fields and whatnot. Feels really appropriate on New Year's to be running these snow-covered fields, doesn't it? Just sort of get your last bit of festive holiday in before it's just, winter. Whole bunch of portals on this one. I think we end up ignoring the vast majority of them though and just heading into the dungeon. Yeah, once I get my happy backside in gear and join the party. I want to say this is a relatively quick dungeon too. Actually, I remember this dungeon, yeah. We're not going to do any cutting away on this one in particular. This was kind of wild for me. So we're going to go ahead and pop a fairy's orb here, and you can see it's a small first floor, only one portal to be had in that T-shaped room 2 beneath us. So we'll go through this little room here. It's got what looked like a bear cat egg. Only one room down past, so we'll go ahead, and in this T-shaped room the portal spawns a chest. So that seems inconsequential enough, it seems like a pretty common occurrence, but that was the only portal on this floor. We essentially made it through one floor of the dungeon without combat. Again, not the rarest occurrence on the planet, but sort of neat. Little anticlimactic, but something worth noting, especially when you're trying to raise an area server. You find dungeons with scarce portals like this that can be run in a hurry. Run them 2-3 times for the all dungeon portals cleared thing, and the next thing you know, your server is leveling. So we make our way through, back across the T. I should state that the T is upside down, just in case you happen to be downloading this and listening to it. As I was told, it was, I think Stein said they did that once. So bonus points to them for being brave enough to actually follow one of these using my voice as the primary means of navigation. Not recommended if you're actually trying to get anywhere. Into the second floor now. Got a small square room, followed by a diagonal hallway. So we'll be 3 rooms in before we hit our first portal in this second floor. Again, you don't see stairs down, it's another small floor, and this one only has 2 portals, so much to our surprise, another chest spawns here. There were only 3 portals in this dungeon, and 2 of them gave us chests. I had to double check. I had to ask Emus on voice chat, and he confirmed for me we fought nothing in this dungeon until the penultimate room. So here's our one encounter, our glorious combat, and I just kind of said screw it. I just started punching the Valkyrie until somebody else finished it off, making sure Breeze got his experience for that. And now there's nothing left but the statue, but I thought that would be a fun thing to include here, just the dungeon without combat. Go ahead and spare you sitting there and grabbing the statue and then using a spray. So I had mentioned there that Cameo had stepped out for a bit, and I believe they were having some controller issues coming back in. So Emus was able to step in for that first adventure with Breeze. Actually, I was speaking with Cameo when I had run into Breeze, and so when the opportunity presented itself, Emus took a quick tag out. We were getting pretty close to midnight at this point, so I believe Emus was setting up to ring in the new year. with his family, and Cameo jumped in, and we ran an adventure, me, Breeze, and Cameo, which turned out to be quite the adventure indeed. Here's some footage of us in the field. A nice grass field here. Okay, this was the level 13 area. I forget what the one previous was. It may have been in the 10 to 12 range. Again, I'm certainly not worried about the level in the least, but this is going to make for a nice little bit of experience for the server and for Cameo at this point, because they switched to their heavy axe, which I believe was level 2 or so. Once again, a Spring of Mist. I always find it interesting that no matter who interacts with the Spring of Mist, the face always, faces you as you're sitting there watching. Just sort of a weird side thing that popped into my head as we were playing. Kind of just moving about the field here. We get a chest out of that portal. Cameo, when we were in town, had mentioned that I looked like an NPC, and indeed this Wave Master model, albeit colored a little different, is pretty similar to the one you'll see if the New Year's Eve event procs. That's the NPC that tells you what's going on. See, Cameo, I think only 2 combats into this field to get a level up there. So neat for Angelo the Heavy Axe to level so quickly there, and I pick up yet another Mandragora. I guess that makes it the official grunty food of New Year's 2020, at least for me. Get a little bit of portal confusion going on there. Partly my fault, as I was just sort of meandering around there. I'll take the blame on that one. I'll also apparently start punching trees. Hit it once, and then I'm just sort of staring at it. Kinda forgot you don't need to be a meat shield if the monster's asleep. And there you can see, again, gaudy experience numbers for them. Breeze got 15, and Angelo 58 experience on that kill. 1,000 trees practically giving out 100 experience. Coming up on a portal on the hill here. And another 1,000 trees. So we are doing our part to deforest, but only the monstrous ones. Treasure chest there. Not too many portals left already. Seemed like there were a bunch more, I guess just the speed at which we cleared them. Next portal coming up here, just sort of took a shot right to the middle there. And another 1,000 trees. So we could pretty much tell how this is going to go by the end of it. Believe everyone got a shot in, and then a monster wanders in off screen while I'm not paying attention. May have turned around to say something to the missus, maybe the boy, but one thing's for sure, I was caught napping on the field. No sleep emblem to blame for that one. Only 3 portals remain on this field, but we are a good hike away from all of them. Moving to the next. Get cut off by a wandering flameheads that we take down right quick and in a hurry. Probably jumped the gun on that myself. I could have probably let it sit a bit and let them get some shots in on it. Just sort of the surprise of it, cutting us off mid-route. Here's another flameheads. Breeze got to it in a hurry. Finish it off there. I hadn't realized that Angelo was sans speed charm there for a moment, so they were kind of lagging behind, didn't make it to that combat in time. getting at backs at the symbol there, and sadly Breeze was out of range for it. So not quite on the same page on this, but close enough. Could see no awakening charms there in the upper left. Joking around about overkilling the monsters there a bit. Got one portal left to go here before the dungeon. And surprise of surprises, it's another 1,000 trees. Make sure those guys get their shots in. How about that? 1,000 trees took a shot at me with a juke rom spell, and it entirely missed. Something you almost never see. My mistake, there was another portal. Apparently my eyesight is just flat out shot, which isn't surprising given the amount of this screen I've seen in the past day. But there's our all field portals open, and not much to do now but make our way to the dungeon. Just sort of marching along for what is going to be a very auspicious adventure in this New Year's revelry. So Cameo had to bow out there in the first floor of the dungeon, actually really early on, and they were nice enough to just go ahead and disconnect since they don't have to worry about incurring the item loss penalty online here, rather than having us play an ocarina and gate out. So it's going to be me and Breeze going through a couple portals here on the first floor for what ends up being quite the dungeon indeed. There we take out a Sickless Shark and move on our merry way to the next. And here we are starting the second floor. Finishing up that first floor, just going to bounce around for a bit. This ends up being a 10-floor dungeon. We didn't realize it at the time. At least I certainly didn't. Ended up picking up a chest in that portal there, and this is right about the time midnight is striking, honestly. So we're kind of chilling, we're doing the Happy New Year, I'm clinking glasses with my family, and killing a Sickless Shark in the process. Kind of the dream for the intrepid young dot hacker, says a guy whose channel is literally called A Grumpy Old Guy Gaming. Getting some fun shots off there. Breeze electrocutes the shark, and I hit with a water spell. And we are squarely in 2021 by the time we hit the third floor for this little adventure. Just sort of making our way through here. Not going to go through every single combat, just sort of bits and pieces. Exiting the third floor here, and we're going to let this roll a little bit, show you a little bit of the fourth floor, so it's not just, you know, picture after picture of running to doorways. Actually get a bit of a break here. We get one of those circular rooms with the cutout in the middle there. No portals to be had. Couple chests, couple breakable objects. Decide to go the shortest route, dead end corridor to our right on the map. So we'll hit that first, and out of the corridor comes some hungry grass. Exactly what you want to see 4 hours into some gameplay footage, monsters that can put you to sleep. So again, here in the fifth floor, we've got a combat here against 1,000 trees, which is made more interesting due to the layout of the room. Narrow walkways in this room that's largely cut out means that our battle is very close up with the 1,000 trees and gives you a sense of perspective, especially in the size difference between Breeze, who's running a tiny wave master, fit right in the BB squad if you will, myself who's running big McLarge huge guy, and the 1,000 trees, which could very easily support the ceiling. Gonna wrap up the 5th floor here and skip ahead. And this would be the same story throughout the 6th floor. Again, 1,000 trees, we take it down readily, and then move on our happy way. See a nice little capture of that darkness spell there with the spider legs coming up from the ground. One of my favorites. Honestly, it really is. I'd make as much of a remark as such a little further on. But moving from the 6th floor to the 7th. And in the 7th, just sort of working our way around a semicircle room where we run into yet another 1,000 trees. Take it out in a hurry. Skipping ahead only one room past where we find a Flameheads, and this is that room where I just remembered just how much I loved that attack. You saw that beautiful front and center close-up shot with Breeze casting it from directly behind me and setting me up perfectly to finish it off. Just mentioned how amazing it was to watch that. You know, especially from the perspective, that would have been something else in first person. That's something I've got to check out in the near future here. So, in the 8th floor now, we're making our way through. It's certainly not taking as long as it could have, but every 10-floor dungeon's a bit of an adventure in itself, and it's something you kinda gotta saddle up for at some point when you make that realization that it's not ending quick. And you could see Breeze right here mentioning about it. Honestly, the 10th-floor dungeon is a bit of a metaphor for 2020. It took forever. Parts of it not the most pleasant. But dungeon crawlers be dungeon crawlers. We will carry on. We will find our way to the treasure. And with a little patience and perseverance, also through the magic of television, we find ourselves in the 9th floor, being harangued by more hungry grass, whose appetite is satiated by large amounts of electricity being shoved directly down their gullets. Moving to the next room here, just a bit of a treasure room. Break for you, break for me, we break things. Pick up a green gale out of the chest, and we enjoy our little moment of respite and move on. Now, it is worth noting, as we hit the 10th floor here with only a couple portals left, that the entire time that Breeze and I have been running this dungeon, Emus has been talking with me on voice chat and just sort of messing around with things on his own, and he was getting ready to rejoin, and I thought we were going to Sprite Ocarina out, and then Cameo dropped, and we continued on this 10th-floor dungeon. So a special extra thanks to Emus for being so patient during this part. That said, it was an awesome adventure getting to run with Breeze, getting to up this server, and, polishing off a 10th-floor dungeon. Actually got an email from them after mentioning how cool that was. Doubly so to get an email in game. I don't know, maybe it's the .hack fan in me, but there's just something that tickles me about getting a mail after an adventure referring to the dungeon. So meta and at the same time so genuine. Finish up there. There's a trapped chest. I consider taking it, and what the heck, it's a holiday, let's open a risky treasure, pick up a fossil bracer and move on. And at long last, our God statue. Not going to bore you with the specifics, but here it was. 10 floors accomplished. So after that, Breeze had said their goodbyes. We quickly sort of headed back to the lobby, checked back in with Emus, and about the time we were wrapping up that 10th floor, Snownami had jumped in the voice chat, said our quick hellos and happy New Year's, and the man, the myth, the legend had just gotten back and was getting ready to jump in the game himself, if we were so inclined to run, and always happy to do a run with Snownami. So we were gearing up to go sort of debating where to go from the available servers, and V's place seemed like the logical choice since we could get something a fairly high level. If you remember, way back as I'm looking at the the timer for this video, 5 hours earlier, we had hit V's place, and just as I'm starting to log in, Emus had beat me there and mentioned that there was someone waiting for us at the bridge. Now, we had joked about not seeing a New Year's event on New Year's, and indeed, I probably wouldn't. Uh, but there is very much a heavy axe in the model and coloration of Pyros. And this turns out to be the, pardon me, I'm about to butcher a word, Setsuban event. And I'm just giddy at this point. Like, we're all shades of Happy New Year'd up, for lack of a better term. We are thoroughly hydrated with adult beverage. And just sorta doing some school kid giggling at the fact that after 5 hours of gameplay, we have hit an event on a holiday. Turns out to not be the holiday event, but you have what you have. Now, there's a part of me that really wants to shoehorn this into this video. That part of me is very small at this point because this video is already over 40 minutes. So for the sake of your eyes and for the sake of my uploads, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the Setsubun video and do that separately. That will probably be the Weekend Warrior drop. So get ready to look for that Sunday morning. Here are the keywords. Again, thank you to everyone who made this such an awesome virtual event on New Year's. I apologize for flubbing the audio, but could not have had more fun if I had tried. Guys, this has been a Grumpy Old Guy Gaming. Again, wishing you a happy, a safe, and adventurous 2021. Hopefully nothing as dire as the past year. Take care, and we'll see you in the next.